Right now, somewhere above your head, heat is escaping your house. Not through a broken window, not through a gap under the door, through your loft, quietly, invisibly, every single hour of every single day this winter. And here's the part that'll wind you up. The fix for most of it costs less than a tank of fuel. You don't need a new boiler. You don't need cavity wall injections costing thousands. You don't need a heat pump grant application that takes 4 months to process. You need about $30 worth of material, a free Saturday afternoon, and the willingness to go up into a space most people haven't set foot in since they moved in. This isn't a trick. It's not a gimmick. It's basic building physics that's been known for decades. The same physics that insulation companies use to justify charging you $3,000 for a job that, in most standard lofts, a competent DIYer can do themselves for a fraction of that. I'm going to show you exactly what's happening up there, why your heating bill keeps climbing no matter how modern your boiler is, and how a simple attic upgrade can help keep that heat where you paid for it, inside your home. Stick with me, because by the end of this, you'll never look at your loft hatch the same way again. Let's talk about why this happens in the first place. Heat rises. That's not folklore, that's physics. Warm air is less dense than cold air, so it naturally moves upward. In a house, that means the heat you're paying to generate downstairs is constantly drifting up through your ceilings and into your loft space. Now, if your loft has proper insulation, that heat gets trapped before it escapes further. It stays largely within the structure of your home, keeping your rooms warmer for longer and easing the load on your heating system. But if your insulation is old, thin, patchy, or was never installed to modern standards, that heat sails straight through your ceiling, into the loft, and out through the roof tiles into the cold night air. Gone. You paid for it, and it's warming the sky above your house instead of your living room. Here's what surprises a lot of people. This isn't just an issue in older Victorian terraces with drafty sash windows. It happens in 1970s, semis, 1990s new builds, even some more recent developments where the original insulation was installed to the minimum building regulation standard of the time. And building regs for loft insulation have changed considerably over the decades. What passed as well insulated in 1985 is nowhere near what's considered adequate today. A few reasons. First, it's out of sight. Nobody walks past their loft hatch and thinks about heat loss the way they'd notice a draft from a window. Second, there's a persistent myth that fixing insulation means an expensive professional job. Scaffolding, specialist contractors, disruption to the house. And third, a lot of people genuinely don't know what good loft insulation even looks like. So they assume whatever's up there is fine. The truth is that a huge percentage of UK homes are running on inadequate loft insulation without the homeowner ever realizing it. And the financial impact isn't small. Heat loss through an under-insulated roof can be one of the largest single sources of wasted heating in an average home, right up there with poorly sealed windows and doors. This is exactly the kind of job that gets quietly skipped over. It's not glamorous. It doesn't show up when guests visit. Nobody compliments your loft insulation. But it works away in the background every single hour of every heating season, and it's one of the most cost-effective upgrades a homeowner can make, if you know what you're looking for. Before you buy a single roll of insulation, you need to know what you're dealing with. Get yourself a torch, wear old clothes, and if you haven't got proper loft boarding, bring a couple of scrap boards or kneel only on the joists. Never step directly on the ceiling material between them, because that's a genuine hazard and a costly mistake if you go through the ceiling. Thickness. Current UK guidance generally recommends around 270 milliliters of mineral wool insulation, or the equivalent in other materials, for a well-insulated loft. If what you've got is a thin, flattened layer, maybe 50 to 100 millimeters, sitting between the joists, you're significantly under-insulated. A lot of older homes have exactly this, a token layer laid decades ago that's now compressed, gappy, and doing far less than it once did. Gaps and bare patches. Walk the length of the loft with your torch and look for bald spots, areas where insulation has been pushed aside, disturbed by previous work, or simply never covered properly around the edges and corners. Every bare patch is a direct route for heat to escape. Compression. Insulation works by trapping air within its fibers. Over time, mineral wool can compress under its own weight or from being walked on, and compressed insulation loses a significant amount of its effectiveness, even if it still looks there. It may only be doing half the job it once did. Moisture and damp staining. Look for dark, discolored patches on the insulation or on the roof timbers themselves. Damp insulation is compromised. Insulation. Wet fibers conduct heat far more readily than dry ones. So if you find damp patches, that's a sign of a separate roof or ventilation issue that needs addressing before you insulate over it. Blocked eaves ventilation. This one catches people out. If insulation has been pushed right up against the eaves, the low edges where the roof meets the walls, it can block the airflow that keeps your roof timbers ventilated and dry. You want insulation to fill the joist space, but leave a clear air gap at the eaves, usually maintained with simple plastic eaves vents. Gaps around the loft hatch, pipework, and downlights. These are notorious weak points. An unsealed loft hatch can act like an open window. Pipes and cables passing through the ceiling often have small gaps around them. Recessed downlights, if not properly fire-rated and boxed, are frequently left with insulation cut away around them entirely, creating a heat loss hole in the middle of an otherwise insulated ceiling. Take your time here. This inspection is the difference between a job that actually works and one that just looks like it does. Now for the actual work. This is a straightforward job for most standard lofts. And here's how it's done properly. Step 1. Clear and prepare. Remove any stored boxes, old furniture, or clutter from the loft. You need clear access to every joist bay. If you're keeping storage in the loft long term, plan for raised boarding later. Don't compress your new insulation by piling boxes straight on top of it. Step 2. Deal with the existing layer. If you've got old, thin insulation already down, you generally don't need to remove it. You're going to top it up. Just make sure it's laid flat and even, with no folds or bunching, before adding the new layer over it. Step 3. Seal the gaps first. This is the step almost everyone skips, and it's arguably the most important one. Before adding your thick top layer, seal the loft hatch with a simple foam draft strip. Use expanding foam or sealant around pipe penetrations, and fit proper insulated covers or fire-rated boxes around any downlights. Sealing these gaps first means your insulation isn't fighting a losing battle against air leaks underneath it. Step 4. Lay the first layer between the joists using mineral wool insulation, the classic choice and still one of the most cost-effective. Unroll it between the joists, cutting it to fit snugly without compressing it. You want it to fill the space fully, but sit loose and fluffy, because it's the trapped air within the fibers doing the insulating work, not the density of the material itself. Step 5. Lay the second layer at right angles. This is the professional trick that makes the real difference. Once your first layer is level with the top of the joists, roll a second layer directly on top, but running perpendicular to the first, crossing over the joists rather than running parallel to them. This second layer covers the joists themselves, which are otherwise a weak point. Timber conducts heat far more readily than the insulation either side of it, so leaving joists exposed creates a pattern of heat loss you can sometimes even see from outside as melting patterns on snow-covered roofs. Step 6. Maintain eaves ventilation. At the low edges of the roof, use eaves vents or simply hold the insulation back from the very edge, leaving a clear channel for air to move. This prevents condensation building up in the roof space, which over time can cause far more expensive problems than the heat loss you're trying to fix. Step 7. Insulate the loft hatch itself. Fix a piece of rigid insulation board to the top of the hatch and add draft seal around the frame. It sounds minor, but an uninsulated hatch is essentially a thin, uninsulated square right in the middle of your ceiling. Tools and materials you'll need. Mineral wool insulation rolls. Measure your loft area first, length by width, and buy enough for 2 full layers. A sharp insulation knife or long scissors, a tape measure, protective gloves, a dust mask, safety goggles, loft boards or scrap timber to kneel on, expanding foam or sealant for gaps, and eaves vents if not already fitted. Safety tips. Mineral wool fibers can irritate skin, eyes, and lungs. Wear gloves, a mask, and eye protection throughout. Never step off the joists onto the ceiling itself. If your loft has electrical cabling, make sure insulation doesn't compress around it. Cables can overheat if buried too tightly under thick insulation, so lay cables slightly on top of the first layer rather than burying it deep. If you find old lagging around pipework or any older loose fill material that looks unusual and your home was built before the early 2000s, it's worth having it checked before disturbing it, just as a precaution. Common mistakes to avoid: compressing insulation by walking on it, blocking eaves ventilation, forgetting the loft hatch entirely, laying only a single layer and calling it done, and covering downlights without proper depth matters more than most people think. Going from 100 milliamperes to 270 milliamperes makes a far bigger difference than going from 270 milliamperes to 350. There's a point of diminishing returns, so don't overspend chasing extra thickness beyond the recommended standard. Put that money into sealing gaps instead, which often has more impact than additional depth. Don't forget loft flooring plans. If you want to use your loft for storage, don't just squash your new insulation flat with boarding. Use raised loft leg boarding systems that lift the floor above the insulation layer, preserving its loft, its fluffiness, while still giving you somewhere to put the Christmas decorations. Cold versus warm loft approach. What we've covered here is a cold loft. Insulation laid at ceiling level, leaving the loft space itself unheated. If you're converting your loft into a living space, that's a different job entirely, involving insulation between the rafters instead. And that's a bigger project for another time. Check your loft insulation every few years. It doesn't wear out the way a carpet does, but it can settle, get disturbed by pipework repairs, or suffer water damage from a slow roof leak you haven't noticed yet. A 5-minute check with a torch once a year costs nothing and catches problems early. Pair it with draft proofing. Loft insulation works best as part of a wider approach. Sealing gaps around windows, doors, and floorboards downstairs complements what you're doing up top. Heat loss happens through the whole building envelope, not just the roof. Picture the loft before. A thin, graying layer of insulation flattened in patches, with bare joists showing through like ribs. A loft hatch with a visible gap of daylight around its edges, and cold air sneaking in wherever the eaves have been left exposed. Now picture it after. A thick, even blanket of insulation running the full depth of the loft. A second cross layer completely burying every joist so there's no exposed timber left as a heat loss route. A properly sealed and insulated hatch that clicks shut like the lid of a good flask. And clear ventilation channels at the eaves, keeping the roof timbers dry and healthy. You won't see this transformation from your living room, but you'll feel it. Rooms holding their heat for longer, the boiler cycling less frequently, and that drafty chill near the ceiling that you'd just gotten used to, gone. That's the loft sorted, a job that costs a fraction of what most people assume, done in an afternoon, with tools you can pick up from any DIY shop this weekend. If you found this useful, you'll want to see the rest of the series, the small, low-cost fixes around the house that make a genuinely noticeable difference to comfort and running costs, the ones that don't get talked about because there's no big sales pitch behind them. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.